All right, hello and welcome to Swing and Ding It, or should I say hello, friends? This
Hello,
is
friend.
Moose along with Mays and Matthews on the biggest week in our game, Masters Week. And we have a jam-packed show today. We will later be joined by incredible golf teacher, director of instruction at Jupiter Hills, Golf Digest top 50 teacher, live from Augusta, where he is with Lucas Glover, getting him ready to try to make some hay in his 11th start in the Masters. Excited to talk to Jason Baile, but we had to get our guy at the Fantasy Grind, Geoff Ulrich, DraftKings contributor, back on with us for Masters Week. Geoff, I quote you every week. You're right up. I quote your stats. I always credit you. I don't say they're mine. I don't try to take it.
He does.
But yeah, those little nuggets are tremendous. Welcome back to Swing It and Ding It, man.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love putting together that article for DraftKings, and I mean, happy to come on and talk about the Masters, man. I mean, only 1 week of the year we get to talk about golf as much, and you got to soak in every hour. So,
it's funny. I always think to me, the Masters is the biggest event in sports, but then WrestleMania was in Philadelphia this weekend, and I'm like, okay, maybe not. I've never seen anything like it. Like, it was 2 days of just madness everywhere. But yeah, absolutely.
Just depends on the audience.
Yeah, wild stuff.
When did WrestleMania become 2 days too? That was my other question. I don't know. Anyway,
it was They had 4 days of events. They had Monday and Friday too.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it was absolutely crazy. But we go back to Augusta. So many things to talk about. I mean, this is the week where it's like, you're watching live from. You're talking about the weather more than you ever had. You're talking about injuries more than you ever had. You're talking about trends and all the things. But what jumps out to you? Like, what, is it the Liv golf story? Is it Jon Rahm? Like, when you think about, like, hey, if you were talking to somebody and you had 10 seconds to talk about the Masters this week, like, what is it that really is standing out to you?
I mean, I feel like all these stories are, like, they're interesting. Like, obviously Tiger's here too, but it's really like Scotty Scheffler. I mean, he's the shortest, favor we've had at this event. And it's really like, it's Scheffler versus the field this week, man. I don't remember, like, you have to go back so long before we've seen a guy under plus 500 to win this event. It's ridiculously short. He's clearly the best player in the world right now. And the last time we had a situation like this was Dustin Johnson. He famously tripped down the stairs and didn't start the event. And we never got to see what happened that year.
Allegedly.
Like, yeah, right.
Asterisk by that.
I'm just going off what I heard.
I know.
What I've been told. But Scotty Scheffler, now we're going to get to see it. Like, unless his wife goes into labor, which is now another story developing. But
yeah.
That potential that could ruin it. But yeah, I really think that's the story. There's a lot of other stuff going on. Rahm coming back from Liv, all the Liv guys playing again, and it's all interesting. I mean, Tiger Woods. This is what makes this event so great. There's so many great things going on, but I really think it's Scheffler. It's Scheffler versus the field this week, and we're going to see. We're going to finally get a betting favorite here to take down this win, because the last guy who did it was Tiger Woods back in 2005.
Give me some of the most important and least important stats for a player this week, like short game, putting, ball striking. When you're putting together, the articles and such, and kind of making your picks, talk about some of those least important and most important categories.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'm not a professional golfer, obviously. I mean, I play the game, I know the game, but I'm not anywhere near that level. So I just go off what I see on the sheet. I go off what I see with my eyes as well. And to me, obviously, ball striking is super important at Augusta. We don't need to, I think everyone knows that. There's a lot of room off the tee. Off the tee specialists seem to thrive here. They certainly have the last couple of years. But to me, the one thing that does stick out is always the around the green play and how important that is. And I think that's why you've seen players like Willett, Zach Johnson, guys like that. They've picked up wins. They've picked up wins in the right circumstances. And yeah, maybe they need a little help. Maybe the leader needed to choke a little. But guys like that with the slick around the green games, they've been managed to compete. And I think that when you're looking at trends and guys really coming in, that's one area I've really sort of focused on, especially for this year. And I think it can kind of help you separate, the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, because a lot of players are hitting it well. But do they really have that all-around game? I think that's really what's separating some of these top players right now. So for me, it's around the green, because Augusta is such a hilly course. It's so unique. The tight lies are everywhere. No matter where you are, you have a difficult up and down. So yeah, around the green is probably, I think, the one kind of unique thing that you should really be emphasizing here.
Geoff, you talk about Scheffler against the field, and I get that. Believe me, it's plus 400. These are like Tiger Woods kind of numbers that we're seeing right now. But I'm listening to Brandel Chambly the other night, and he's basically telling me, who's a guy is taking Scheffler in my one and done pool this week. I'm holding him for the Masters, right? He's like, oh, it's going to win by 10. He could win by 10 shots, and I'm like, will you calm down and pump the brakes?
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I mean, it's the case for Scotty Scheffler is quite clear. I mean, he's head and shoulders. There's a reason he's this short. He's won a couple times, but there is another case to it. Like the betting favorites here, it's tough. It's a short elite field. It's a course, that plays to experience. Experience matters. And there's a lot of players behind him in this field that have a lot of experience, and some of them are playing really good golf, like a guy like Hideki Matsuyama, who's beaten Scheffler this year. Straight up on another course that has a little bit of similarities to this. So
Riviera.
Yeah, it's I think that Scheffler is getting talked about enough to the point where probably we do need to pump the brakes a little bit. This is not, I don't think, going to be a walk in the park for anyone. It never is. Even the year Scheffler won by multiple strokes, he four-putted the last hole and kind of made it a little bit interesting. So I'd be pretty shocked if that happened, but certainly if there's a player who can pull off that kind of performance, it is Scheffler. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I saw Brandel's comments, and I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. Don't forget that Scotty Scheffler has still struggled with the putter, and in his last time out, he missed a 5-footer to get into a playoff and lost to Steven Yager. So, it's golf. As we saw last weekend at the Valero, anything can happen.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk about some of the injuries that we're hearing, right? You have Hideki, you have Cantlay with a mysterious injury, you have Spieth,
who's always hurt.
Yeah,
everything. Everything.
It's like an NFL
always
report,
hurt.
entire body. You have the weakest injury in the world, Akshay Patel, who got hurt celebrating with a Arsenio Hall fist pump, I guess you call it, which is just mind-boggling. But do you? It's the Masters, right? So it's like, how much of these things are going to affect these guys? Weather always comes into play. Then you have Tiger, who's a whole other injury report in and of itself. But what are you hearing on the latest injury reports as guys start to put their fantasy lineups in and finalize them?
Yeah, no, I mean, pretty much you listed the guys that I have concerns about. I mean, certainly Batia. I mean, I wouldn't recommend him this week. I mean, I actually think that him getting in the field is kind of makes some good value options, like for betting opportunities. If you're betting top debutant, he was one of the shorter players in that market. So maybe a little bit of opportunity there. Not someone I would use for DFS because, again, you mentioned the weather could be a little bit cold the first 2 days. Who knows how it reacts? I have no idea how injured he is because we don't get full injury reports in golf or anything, right? So that's one where I feel pretty strongly just about staying away. Patrick Cantlay, having not played since the Masters, or since the Players, excuse me, is just like a huge red flag for me. Really just not sure what's going on with him. Again, undisclosed injury, not even really sure if it's an injury or what, but certainly something is going on because I don't think that his ideal prep would be to not play for like 4 weeks. Yeah. And then, you mentioned the Jordan Spieth, the wrist injury. Not sure what to make of that either. I feel like Spieth and guys like Hideki, I'm not as worried about. They always seem to have something going on with them, and they certainly seem to play well through it. Hideki had there's some report out of Japan that he was dealing with a bunch of stuff, and he finished like T6 last week. He looked fine. So I don't think there's anything major. I think the other one is just Cameron Smith, who withdrew from LIV last week with an illness, but so unideal preparation for Cam Smith. That's another guy, but nothing major. But those are the players I'd keep an eye on. Cantlay for me is a pretty big question mark. I really thought he was going to put something together at Riviera and after, but I have no interest this week. Really got to see it from him again.
Well, I got to ask, we're going to see 13 LIV guys in the field, with them obviously playing different schedules, having different stats available. What is your, what's the strategy, or what is your, I guess, method on, putting them into play this week?
I think this week it's a little bit simpler because, we do, I think at Augusta, we weigh course experience more. So, you look at some of the LIV players, most of them do have experience actually. So I think they're actually really sneaky. Most of them offer some pretty good value, just in terms of DFS and betting as well. Most of them haven't been bet up as much. Obviously, Rahm is still a very popular play. He's played pretty well. But I think for the most part, like you should be taking a pretty good look at the live guys and whatever you're doing. Like I think, Bryson is interesting for DFS on DraftKings. Is only 8,200. I think Bryson is due for a breakthrough here, not to necessarily win, but he played well in the majors last year. He's a guy I'm not shying away from necessarily at the majors this year. I don't know if this is the week for him necessarily, but he's played well. Neiman's played well, and I think we don't have the stats, but you can look at the performances. I mean, I think you have to dissect it a little bit more. Bryson shot a bunch of low rounds. Neiman's shot a bunch of low rounds. Brooks ending with 275s last week was a little bit concerning. So not as much data to go off of. It's a little bit more of a guessing game, but I still think that, especially this week with all the experience that the live guys offer, it's there. You definitely shouldn't shy away from this event. Guys like Patrick Reed, Sergio as well. I wouldn't be shocked if one of those guys got deep into contention this week. They both played well last week.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, and they're motivated like beyond belief. But you talk about Brooks. I mean, he switched putters and played, really poorly in the final 2 rounds at Miami last week. Plus, he's paired with Brian Harman, who's one of the most deliberate guys out there. And we all know how Brooks likes to keep it going. And here we got, 20 waggle Brian Harman. It's going to drive him absolutely insane.
But I want to know, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just going to say, and you know what? Brian Harman's not going to give a shit either.
Oh, he doesn't care.
He's going to go out there and take 30 waggles just because he's playing with Brooks. So
you're right.
Yeah, that's a tough draw. And Brooks, just quickly on Brooks is a guy who when he does well at a major, he almost always plays well the week before. So for me, it's kind of a red flag that he hasn't played good 2 events.
Yeah.
See, that was my questions that I was asking, a bunch of the guys that play golf and are from this area. I'm like, Brooks, look at his last 2 rounds last week at Doral. And most of them were like, he was probably just trying to shape shots, prep for this week. The whisperings around this area, the Jupiter, Palm Beach Gardens area, is that Brooks is dialed in. He's ready. He feels that this is his year. But then when I was looking at those live scorecards, I was like, well, this doesn't really make sense. Like you said, 275s, in those last 2 rounds. But the whisperings are that he has been focused. He's, has his mind set on this, and that he wasn't, I guess for lack of better words, trying to win live this week, and was maybe just trying to shape shots and prep for Augusta because he had to play last week.
And that's the disadvantage of not having the strokes gain stats and stuff, not seeing these guys play as often. If anyone was going to pull that magic act, it would be Brooks, but certainly capable of it. I mean, I'm not writing him off necessarily like a guy like Cantlay. Certainly if Brooks pops up round 1, I won't be overly shocked, but it's when you're dialing down into players, it is hard to like him because just typically he'd come in and he'd give it a pretty good go. A lot of runner-ups for Brooks the weeks before he's won majors. So a little bit of a mystery right now, but yeah. And you mentioned the putter, switching back and forth. Looks like he had his Scotty Cameron back this afternoon. So who knows? But yeah, a little bit of a mystery around Brooks. Would have probably been a pick of mine if he had finished a little bit better last week.
Yeah. So let's take a look real quick at some of your stats that I often read, but now we get to read them along with you. So that's a lot of fun. So we always hear the one right about Fuzzy Zeller, the only one to win in his first attempt, right? So maybe you don't cross some of those guys off the board. 8 of the last 11 winners have had a top 5, right? Since 96, only Patrick Reed has won after missing the cut the previous year. And 9 out of the 10 winners had a top 5 in one of their last 5 starts. Again, the live thing really throws that off. But obviously we know this course. Yeah, you have to know it. You have to kind of, have some success and some spirits and be coming off some really good wins to or playing well anyway to really get into contention here.
Yeah, exactly. It's a blend of experience and recent form. And, from the experience angle, just because a guy hasn't finished top 5 or top 10 here even doesn't mean they can't win. Reed did it. A couple other guys have done it. But generally, we see guys who get in contention here and then they kind of break through. So that's always something to take note of. And then the recent form thing as well. Generally, these guys are competing from January to April at some avenue. They have some hot streak where they're getting themselves in contention. Not necessarily a win, but getting into that competitive golf. That's what worries me a little bit about Brooks. Just going back to him, a couple other players we could bring up as well. Like Hovland is another guy. I mean, jarring start to the year for Hovland. He's going through some swing changes, so it's hard to like these guys too much without them fitting that trend. But it certainly doesn't mean that either of those players can't pop up this week. Of the two, I would probably that I mentioned, I would probably lean towards Brooks more than Victor. But certainly, we see guys break these trends as well. But these are trends that are formed for a reason. Generally, we can see the winter coming at least a little bit.
Good stuff.
Now, obviously, the weather is unpredictable. It's looking like Thursday could be pretty bad, with maybe an inch and a half of rain. Who knows if it's thunderstorms and wind and all that kind of stuff. But when you're trying to put together lineups or making wagers, obviously the tee times came out today. I mean, how important is that to you? The morning or the early late and the late early kind of thing.
We see some pretty good wave splits at the Masters sometimes. Definitely, the weather around here this time of year gets a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
Certainly did last year. And this year it's, I've been watching the weather, and like you said, we're going to get some pretty violent winds the first 2 days, some rain coming down and a little bit of cool air. And
Sunday looks great.
Yeah, no, the weekend looks great. Yeah. But the first 2 days, which is where we're kind of worried about, where the wave splits come in. But the thing is, the thing that's tough so far, and I mean, I'm not really gonna be able to make many decisions until tomorrow, is, like, what if they stop play? Like, what if play gets halted Thursday morning? Then that Thursday AM crowd who maybe have gone out in the rain, who could have been a disadvantage, but then maybe they get to finish their round on Saturday when it's nice. So at this point, like, I don't really have a hard lean. I mean, I think that I would probably prefer like a guy going out Thursday afternoon and then
late early.
going out, late early.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's just a educated guess by me right now. Certainly those guys in the early morning, maybe the wind isn't as bad Thursday morning and they get a wet course too. It's a lot of things that could happen. So just going to monitor it and see what happens. But certainly if you're playing DFS too, and say you're putting together multiple lineups, you can always create different stacks, get exposure to both waves. Generally a good way to go about it rather than trying to guess which wave is going to get the best of it.
Great stuff. Great stuff as always. Make sure you're following at the Fantasy Grind. Geoff Ulrich. All right, let's close it out with this. You got one person to take for this tournament. Who's it going to be? One and done, swing it and ding it style.
One and done. I mean, I'm gonna take Hideki then. I love the lead up for Hideki.
I already used
I really think he loves this course.
Give Harry another option.
And I think that if anyone has the top end game to take down Scheffler, I really think Hideki can do it.
Yeah, playing
awesome,
great.
Man.
He's playing.
Appreciate it.
We'll be following along all weekend, watching what you're putting out there, seeing if there's some more trends to jump on halfway through. And appreciate your time. We'll get you back on soon.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, Geoff.
Thanks, Geoff. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Jason Baile. Welcome back to Swing It and Ding It. Thanks again to Geoff Ulrich at the Fantasy Grind. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. Incredible follower. Follow. Great articles.
Great data.
Week. Great data. Breaks it down like no other. But we are fortunate to be joined once again, another return guest. 2 return guests on the same show. We must be doing something right. The great Jason Baile, Director of Instruction at Jupiter Hills and Golf Digest Top 100 teacher. Also 2022 South Florida PGA Teacher of the Year, live from the Candlewood Suites. Is that where? I don't want to give away your location. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Candlewood Suites, room 206.
Doors unlocked.
Yeah.
From Augusta. So talk to us about you got there yesterday, I believe.
Got there yesterday morning. Yeah, early yesterday morning.
Set the scene for us over the past 2 days out at Augusta National.
Everything, I've been here before. This is my first time with a player, so it was a little surreal that way. I will tell you a quick funny story. We were hitting golf balls on the range yesterday. We're going to go play the back nine with Ricky, and so we're hitting golf balls and did some putting and chipping, and we're going to run to the back nine. Looked like there was a gap going. We kind of meander through the clubhouse. There's a little breezeway, and I'd been on property before, but kind of not in this situation. And we go walking through the breezeway right out into picnic tables and patio chairs and the green and white umbrellas, and it's like boom, it just hits you. And we go walking through there. Security guard grabs us. We're going to 10T. And I'm just like, it's like walking into Cowboy Stadium. I know that's what all of y'all are thinking.
Yeah. Not familiar. What do they do?
You go walking.
We have reverse feelings.
And I got to give a bunch of credit to Danielle, because I'm walking, stride for stride with a major champion, and this guy grabs me from on the other side of the ropes and says, "Hey, Jason, I'm a big fan. Can I get a picture of you?" I teach in Minnesota, and I'm like, of the two guys you had a chance to grab, you grabbed me. So I give Danielle a lot of credit for that. So, but you talk about a cool moment for a coach, and just a cool atmosphere to be in, man. It's as good as it gets.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. I can't imagine being there. So you said this is the first year you've been there before, but first year with a player, you're there with Lucas.
Yeah.
Talk about, you said you walked the second 9, as we're supposed to call it. Talk about the course. Like, I heard that it's, firmer than recent years, but the condition, walking out there and playing. You said practice round with Ricky?
Yeah, I played back 9 or second 9 with Ricky yesterday, and we did Tom Lamb, Lucas's caddy. We were this is one of the only events that coaches can't be inside the ropes, which is unfortunate, but it's 100% not about us. It's about the viewer experience at Masters and the patrons, and so there's no distractions there. So tough to get as a coach, tough to get a kind of a look at shot shapes and things like that. But the golf course so well, if you've ever been there or you've watched it at all on TV, you kind of know what shot shapes are needed. And then you're just watching balls reacting, and in between holes, Tommy would come over and say, the greens were firm, and they were. And I heard y'all talking in the last segment about the rain that's coming on Thursday. So I think that could equal out just a little bit if we don't get hammered. But golf course obviously is in wonderful shape. It was playing firm and fast yesterday. It was really funny. We had the eclipse yesterday happen in Augusta, as it did everywhere. And Lucas was getting ready to hit his tee shot on 12 when we got the biggest part of the eclipse, and the whole place went silent as far as wind and everything. I mean, if you ever wanted to hit a tee shot on 12 and be okay,
we couldn't have saved that for Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. Minus the fact that some type of cosmic thing is happening around you. Yesterday, about that time, was the perfect time to hit your shot on 12.
I'll keep that in mind for 44 years from now,
exactly.
or whatever it's going to be, in case I'm back out there.
Yeah. Well, now, Jason, obviously you mentioned you're not allowed to walk out there with your player, but what kind of things do you go through in preparation for a golf course like this, which is so unique with the elevation change and the right to left, the downhill lie, the side hill lie, and things like that? And you're down in Florida. How do you prepare your player for this kind of an event?
Well, luckily we're at Jupiter Hills, and so we have some unlevel lies there as well. So we can hit some shots there. Biggest thing I think for at least for Lucas is, and I'm sure it's that way for a lot of players, is there's a lot of shots around the greens that you're going to have from tighter lies. And that you're going to need to judge slopes on. You're going to need to play lower shots than you do probably on a normal week on the PGA Tour. So you're bumping some shots in, and you've really got to find where to bump them and which way they're going to kick. So a lot of time, especially today, we played 18 holes today with lofted clubs.
Gotcha. Now it's interesting, right? You're there with Lucas. This is his 10th appearance, I believe, right?
Correct.
So you have someone who's going in there with a ton of experience, a ton of knowledge, where they truly can focus on their game. That's got to be a little bit refreshing as a teacher and a coach, right? You're not necessarily worried about someone having to figure out what the heck to do out there. Like, they have a knowledge base. It's like, how do you work on your game, and what is the focus, right? I'd imagine that there's 1, 2, or 3 things that it's like, all right, this is what we really want to work on for this course, without giving us too much of behind the curtain. What are those things that you're trying to focus your player on most?
Well, as far as just Lucas this week, he had a pretty good week last week in San Antonio with a top 25, but wasn't like extremely happy with his ball striking. Of course, that's one of those places too on tour. It's like I've seen that golf course several times, and I almost kind of, there's rattlesnakes and cactus everywhere and things like that. So with a player like Lucas, you're usually not worried about that. But we did hit some squirrely tee shots off to the right last week that he wasn't real happy with. And so this week was a little bit about just kind of putting him back together from that standpoint, getting his draw to work back again, because there's so many tee shots here that you can shape right to left for a right-handed player, that just kind of fit his eye. And when he's really on with his iron play, he hits his numbers like nobody else in the world. And so being able to play to places on the greens here is obviously really important. A lot of times you're playing away from flags, trying to hit your number to a certain section of the green. And so just really kind of being precise. We've been doing that the first 2 days, just really trying to get the precision back of Lucas's ball striking, which with a player like him, it's never too far off. And so there's no big technique changes or anything. It's just kind of a refocusing.
Now, Jason, taking it a little bit away from golf itself, but the experience of being at Augusta, what have you eaten? Have you tried their signature beer? Have you made a call from the payphone that comes up Augusta? Talk to us about those important parts of the Augusta experience.
I think I'll lead that off with this. I think it's if you took this week and you took the entire field and you said, hey guys, look, we're really sorry this week, but we don't have any prize money. Okay, we're just going to play. We're just going to play for a little green jacket. Will you all still come? It's probably the only event in the world that everybody goes, I don't need any prize money. I'll play for the green jacket and just walk around Augusta. I think it's that way for the fan experience as well. While I like pimento cheese, I'm more of an egg salad kind of guy.
There you go. Same price.
Yes. I do love pimento cheese, but I like the egg salad even better. In South Florida, being a Southern guy, you don't find too many sweet teas. So I've been hopped up on sweet tea all week. I haven't had any signature beer because I've actually been on the clock while I'm there. But that could happen right before my plane ride out of here on Friday. Maybe I grab one on the way. But yeah, it's so fun being on the grounds there. The people watching, out of this world. You've got one side with ladies in beautiful sundresses and guys that are dressed to the nines, and then you've got guys with funny Masters hats on and plus fours or anything. So it's just, and then to watch the kids, I think the kids has been a great part because they're just in awe, just walking around and looking at players. And we've always talked about this. I know my family has. It's like once you never watch the Masters the same after you've been on property, because you kind of know how the property moves and how downhill the tee shot is on 10 and how uphill some holes play and what 13 looks like in the fairway. It's just a unique experience and something obviously that's special to golf.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be there back in '94 for a practice round. And
how'd you shoot?
Yeah, how to shoot. You're right. No, but the elevation change was the biggest thing that stuck out to me, Jason. It was like how far downhill that 12 and 13 are from where the clubhouse is. Oh, yeah. And what a challenging walk that must be for a guy like Tiger Woods at this point. But like if you're trying to just sort of relate it to an amateur player who's never been there, like the kind of shot if you said, if you ever go to Augusta National, you need to have this golf shot, like what would it be?
I still think for a right-handed player, if I had to choose one shot shape over the other, I think you need to turn it right to left. I think it just fits you. More holes fit that way. It's why a lot of faders of the golf ball that are left-handed and one there. It just kind of moves that direction for the most part. And so to get the most out of a lot of tee shots, 13, 10, things like that, to catch speed slots, turning the golf ball in that direction. I feel like really helps, which is why I love my guy. He hits draws better than anybody in the world.
There you go.
Now question. I knew if I was going, my wife would keep my credit cards because me at the merch shop there would be dangerous. Oh. What are we working with when you're flying back? I would imagine.
Yeah,
correct?
Flying back.
Like, what type of carry on you bring in full of stuff?
I'm terrible about this. Like I actually bought my first piece of tour swag a couple of weeks ago at the Players Championship, where they've got a cool goat logo, and I was like, I got to have the goat logo. And so I did buy that. I know my older daughters are freaking out. They've already called me tonight, like, what are you going to get me, Dad? Somebody's getting a pimento hat. You just got to. That's just too cool not to have. So I think I did leave a little extra room in my luggage to carry some stuff back for all my girls, and so I picking sizes. If I was picking for my brothers and my dad, no big deal. But for my wife and my 3 daughters, picking sizes, I'm going to screw it up, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a losing scenario.
Girls size smaller, extra small.
100%.
But Jason, we do have to, let's rewind the clock just a little bit. Last week, you had 2 women amateurs that were up there. So is it safe to say you were the only coach that has been there back-to-back weeks?
That could be true. Yeah, that actually could be true. I was lucky enough to come up Monday and Tuesday last week. What an outstanding event. First couple of days are a Champions Retreat here in Augusta, and just being on that property, just the feel, like it's got Augusta National, even though Champions Retreat's a wonderful place, but the signage, the scoreboards, the menu at the turn, it has those fingerprints. You felt like you were at something really special even before they got to Augusta. And Charlotte Heath from Florida State's a player of mine, and Maisie Filler, who had a nice run into late on Sunday. I just felt wonderful for them, and I felt wonderful for all the girls that were there. As a girl dad, just for like the way they were treated, the event itself, the majesty of the whole thing, the pageantry of the whole thing, how they were all treated was amazing. You had Augusta members on property, you had Augusta professionals along with the staff at Champions Retreat. They just did a magical job. It was my first one, and I'm so glad I got the opportunity. If anybody else has the opportunity to go see that event, I strongly encourage it.
I love it. As a dad of 3 girls myself, I'd love to see it. Harry, I'm sorry, were you jumping in there?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm not a dad of any girls, but I watched that event, and I've watched it every year, and there's a league out there that says they're growing the game, but to me, what Augusta National is doing with that event is growing the game.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No doubt. Well, listen, we know you have an early start tomorrow. You have a couple busy days ahead of you to get your guy ready to go. We're rooting for you guys. We appreciate you coming back on, and love seeing the incredible social videos that are coming out of Jason Bell's account. I mean,
terrific.
I saw a strapping young man from the Philadelphia area. A strapping young lad by the name of Brandon Matthews was on there, I think, last week. I saw, man, that was just pure, just beautiful to watch. So yeah,
we did that in one take too. That was a great part of that.
I believe it.
And I wasn't involved in that. I'm like, wait,
no?
I'm like, I just got tagged in this. I think we were out to dinner, and I'm like, I'm like, this isn't a me. This is Brandon. This is a view. And Brandon's like, take a look at it. I was like, Jason, send me the video.
Great stuff.
Like, that's a great
yeah,
story.
Absolutely. Good luck this week, Jason. Thanks for hopping on with us, and we'll definitely be watching to see if Lucas. I mean, he's got the tools, he's got the shot shape, he's ready to go.
Got the putter.
He's got the
putter. That's right.
That is true. That is
Good
true.
luck.
Everything but the coach. I just tag along as much as I can. So, thank y'all very much for having me.
Jason.
Really appreciate it. You guys.
Thanks for joining. Thanks
Have
for
a great
joining.
night.
You too. All right, guys. Great to talk to Jason again. Obviously live on the property there, and I mean, you can hear the excitement. Here's someone who's been there before. Who's was there last week for in the area for a different event. It's like I can't imagine. I mean, Harry, you got to get to be there. I have yet to get there. Maybe there's a travel company we work with that might be able to help us out with that area. We'll see, but
there might be.
Yeah,
it's a
or we
surreal
just win
experience.
so much money on DraftKings this week that we just buy tickets for next year.
Yeah.
I enter the lottery every year. And
I
always
really?
get that declination email saying, sorry, try again.
I think I did it once, and then I was like, I'll wait till somebody gets it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of a great place, I have to give a shout out to Caroline McKenzie Andrews, who was the director of golf down at Plantation Bay. I was on vacation last week, and she was kind enough to to allow me to get out there. Just an incredible place. They have about 45 holes of golf, state of the art, practice facility, the restaurant, just tremendous. So I get down to that area, once or twice a year. So had to make some good friends. Greeny's texting me because he goes down there too. It's our in-laws' place. He's like, he's like, you better go full moose mode down there, do your thing. I rolled up with coffee and donuts for the starters. Anyone that looked at me in my eyes got $20. I went in the purse. Yeah. Went in the yeah. You got to really lay the foundation.
You are a wet dream for a golf course. I tell you what, I see moose rolling up. I'm like, here we go.
Like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack,
That's amazing.
Don't tell him he's Jewish.
Yeah,
man.
But really, really, really cool place. Really cool place. A lot of fun.
Yeah, the pictures look great.
Yeah, looking forward to getting back, man. Looking forward to getting back.
And he shot a great round on one of the nines, right? Under 40, sub 40.
Yeah, great back nine. I mean, listen, it's nice playing those wide open courses, man. Second nine. It's nice when you have some room out there.
Exactly.
We got to keep it polished this week.
This damn Legacy Club beats me up, man.
Oh,
jeez, God, that's a tough golf course.
Jesus, Jack.
Danielle.
Man. Yes.
You have some tea to spill on the week of the Masters.
I feel like the tea should all be revolving around the Masters, right?
Of course.
So really, there's no other golf news besides Master news. So we had Geoff lightly touch on it, but this could tie into if you're, betting or putting any fantasy lineups together, that both Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns, their wives are both due. So I think Sam Burns' wife is due in 9 days. So that could happen. So keep that in mind if you're betting. And then Chef's wife, Meredith, is due in a little, in 2 weeks. So you never know.
They're in the window.
She's not going to pop.
She's not going to.
Mary's not popping.
Harry's got.
I don't care about Burns. I couldn't care less. I hope he has his kid in 2 days. I couldn't care less. But Meredith is not popping. Trust me.
She'll hold that baby in to be get another.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know, but then golf doesn't rule the world. So
wow, what if she delivers on 18 on Sunday for the win? Right on
I would have my baby at Augusta.
That would be a tremendous.
Instead of having
Nance in the delivery room.
Well, I have a feeling there would be a doctor in the house.
One or two on property, right?
Yeah, I think you get your pick.
Yeah. Rory, some buzz around him. I know. I feel like I always got to talk about Rory just to appease Harry.
Of course.
A late arrival and an early exit to the mandatory press conference. I think he was there for, in totality, 13 minutes as opposed to comparison of Tiger's 1 hour. So he's like, hey, look, I don't really want to hear the Grand Slam and, have that pressure of talking about this. He's like, I went home, I flew up this afternoon. He's like, I'm preparing for it the same way that I prepared for, anything else. So this will be his 10th attempt to complete the final leg of the career Grand Slam. So we'll see. I lightly touched on it before we went live, but some fun facts. The security at Augusta is on strict alert for patrons shouting out different phrases. And there's a long list of phrases that have been banned. We haven't seen an updated list since 2018 when one was leaked. And that included phrases like to infinity and beyond, you the man, Baba Booey, one of my favorites, mashed potatoes, and for my Philly people, free meek. So I'm sure there's been a lot more phrases added to that, but that is not allowed to be said while on property or you're booted.
You're gone.
Good. Get out.
There's even the broadcasters are even, you've been hearing us joke about it throughout the entire show, but you can't say the front, the front nine, the back nine. It has to be the first and second nine. So a couple different, verbiage restrictions with that.
Can't say rough either. It's first.
No, it has to be first cut.
Yeah. First cut.
Yep. Yeah. Phil and JT both debuting new caddies this week.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting. I thought especially for JT to just keep him for one more week, right? Yeah. How many Masters
Bones hasn't ever been there 100 times.
Jesus.
Or one there.
Yeah.
What?
And then I feel like when we're talking about the Masters, obviously there has to be some Tiger talk, at least a little bit. So I know this morning when I, came back out and I turned on TV, I heard Freddie Couples. He's firing some Tiger Woods warnings, if you will. And he quote said, "I think the last thing he's thinking about is making the cut. Can he win here? You know what? Yeah. I just watched him play 9 holes, and 9 holes are only 9 holes on a Tuesday, but he never hit a shot."
Yeah.
He said, but the idea of making a cut, I think he would laugh at that because he's not here to do that. He's here to win, which we know that that's Tiger's mentality. But Harry, you talked about his leg, his injury, everything else. So we will see. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps the tea. That's enough talk to,
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, it's great tea. But is there anybody else that looks better in like just silver hair than Freddie Couples?
Oh, man.
I mean, my God, he's got one of the greatest heads of hair ever. And
the guy's been killing it for a long time.
A coif, he's gorgeous.
Yeah, he's got beautiful hair, Harry.
Forget about the golf.
He's got a flow going.
He really does.
Oh,
he really does.
Terrific.
Well, we teased it a little bit, but first of all, our DraftKings contest, there's still some room. Hop in. We made it a bigger field this week to do it. We're going to start pushing. We're getting close to 3 months to our golf outing, so our early bird special kind of has come and gone. It's time to kick back into gear with that and get things going. And we talked about our friends at All Access GTE. There is a link in our Instagram bio that takes you directly to a landing page with special information and pricing for Swing It and Ding It listeners. Unlock the golf experiences you've always dreamed of. Could even be a little place down in Georgia next year, but
Georgia,
the Ireland, the England. Charles. Yeah. I mean, you really got to take it. I was talking to somebody, a buddy of mine who's a member at a local club. I don't want to throw him out. They're doing a golf trip. And I'm like, how do you do it? He's like, well, a guy from our club, just like it's a million emails. And like, you got to figure out who's doing what. I'm like, what are you guys doing? These guys are not, this is not it's a pretty wealthy club. I'm like, call All Access, go to our landing page. Those guys will take care of everything. You won't have to do anything. He's like, all right, I'm going to take care of it. So check those guys out. But let's talk about the Masters. I have some stats I want to go through. I saw a great read on Twitter that I'll go through, but we talked a little bit about the course, of course. Harry, do you want to dig in a little deeper on the course, of course, for us?
Oh, the course, of course?
Yes.
Of course. I mean, not much needs to be said about this. Alistair McKenzie and Bobby Jones, 1932. It used to be the Fruitland Plantation, which was a former nursery, basically. And they turned it into now 7,555-yard par 72 masterpiece. Bent grass greens, ryegrass fairways, 4 par 5s, the 2nd, the 8th, the 13th, and the 15th. 4 par 3s, 4, 6, 12, and 16, and just some the greatest closing 9 in golf is really what this place is. But you got to start at the first hole because you talk about nerves. Like when I was shaking the leaf at Pine Valley, I think a lot of these players, feel the same way. On the first hole, the par 4 T Olive is what it's named. They named all the holes after trees. 445 yards. It plays as one of the most difficult holes on not only the golf course, but especially the front 9. But the second 9 is where it starts. That's where the tournament starts on Sunday, they say, although I'll be watching from start to finish. But that par 4 10th hole up from elevation, 495 yards down dogleg left, Camellia. It's one of the greatest holes to start a 9 that I've ever seen. It's got that gigantic bunker in the middle of the fairway, which is there because the green used to be there, and they moved it back years and years ago. But what a gorgeous golf hole with multiple, elevations on the greens. The 11th hole is one of the toughest holes on the golf course, probably the toughest hole in the back 9. They've lengthened it out to now 525 yards. It's called White Dogwood. If you hit the speed slot, you got an easier approach, but water looms left of the green and the mounds, they've added mounds now, short and right, because guys would bail out to the right and short. Now it's not that easy of a shot. The 12th hole, I don't need to say much about Golden Bell. It's the most iconic golf holes in golf. when the wind swirls and Rays Creek, small kidney-shaped green and just a tiny target. It is just brilliant. And that's really, where, the tournament starts. When Tiger won a couple of years ago in 2019, how many guys put in the water there? Yeah. And Freddie Couples' shot magically held up on the bank, and he won in 92. There's no way that ball hangs up on the bank typically, but that's just a tremendous hole. The par 5 13th hole, they keep lengthening it, buying more property back and moving the tee shot back. It's called Azalea, one of the greatest right to left dog legs that you'll ever see in golf. And then you got the tributary to Rays Creek, which lays right in front of it, which looms for guys trying to reach in 3. The par 5 15th, Firethorn, unbelievable downhill par 5 with a big pond in front, and just such a small landing area on that green, wherever those pins are, to keep it on the green and to keep it from rolling back into the water. 16. Iconic par 3, where so many iconic shots were hit. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, you just, name them. It's just drama. 17, not a whole lot of drama there. It's sort of like, I can't make a bogey. I can't make a bogey. Then we get to 18, you got that shoot. It's coming out of a shoot, Moose, where I would be just trembling. My knees would be knocking, trying to have to hit that tee shot, looking at those 2 bunkers and the dog leg right up the hill with the multi-tiered green. It is just a brilliant golf course made for television.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, and Jason talked about it. The way that even inside the ropes, like they want it to be perfect for everyone that's there and everyone that's watching. And it is absolutely perfect. So check this out.
Any spot that's brown, they're spray painting. They're making it green. They're anything that wouldn't show up good on TV.
Yeah, I mean,
I learned that the hard way at Baile a couple years ago. I had these clean, crispy white sneakers.
Oh man,
I'm walking. I look down. I'm like, my feet are green. What? I was like, oh my God. And the spray paint from all the paint from any spot that was brown or, obviously it's a tremendous condition, I was watching any little brown spot.
I was watching the amateur over the weekend, right? And the girl on the range that was waiting to think that she might be in a playoff is hitting shots. And you could see where the divots were, and they're all green. They're all greened in.
Yeah.
Jeez.
There's no divots.
No.
It's unbelievable. It's a magical place.
It
really is. So guys, check this out. I talked about it a little bit. Ron Klaus on Twitter. He talked about the highest percentage trends. There were 20 of the highest percentage trends when it comes to the Masters. I'm going to go through the takeaways from those trends. I'm not going to read them all. Past history matters more here than anywhere else. Long shots are very unlikely. Recent winning experience matters. Current form, especially tee to green, is paramount. Elite putter not required. Bomber's paradise. Must feast on par 5s. Tight, uneven lies around the greens. It brings on the best short games. Only 3 fit 17 of 20 of those trends. Rory, Siwoo Kim, and Cam Young. 4 fit 18 to 20 of them. Scotty, Rahm, Hideki, and Finau. Only 1 player fits 19 of 20 of them. Xander Schauffele.
Wow.
Fits 19 of 20 of those trends. Also, Justin Ray posted on Twitter, most birdies or better in the last 5 years, minimum 10 rounds played here. Xander again is at the top of the list. Is this coming up Xander this year? Can he get it done at the Masters? Also, Sanjay,
get Jeff back on here real quick. Let's ask him.
I mean, it really, and then you look at him, he's right behind Rahm at plus 1,400. It's like, can this guy get it done on the biggest stage? Harry Mays, let's roll this right into See the Line and see what you think about this.
Well, you talk about Xander, 6 top 10s in 24, including T2 at the Players, 2 Scotty Scheffler, 3 top 10s in the Masters, and he finished T10 last year. So there's no doubt that he's able to play this golf course, and he's in great form. So there's no doubt about that. But can he close in the biggest spot? I would definitely try to put him on a fantasy team because I can't put Scheffler in there with what it costs. I mean, he's over $12,000 to put on a fantasy team. I love Henley on a fantasy team. I love Siwoo or Connors on a fantasy team. Guys that are in that $7,000 to $7,500 range, which give you latitude to put some of those bigger guys in. But I'll tell you one guy, and maybe you guys can pull me off the ledge. I love this week. I love out of Live.
Brooksy?
Neiman?
No.
Walkie?
No. I'm fading Brooks. I'm going DJ.
DJ
at $8,800 with 4 top 10s, including a win at this golf course, and he's rededicated. I just think that this is one of these situations where this guy can play. When he wakes up, he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't forget about how to play golf. Exactly, Moose. And it's just like with his mentality, his attitude. And apparently, I believe what they're saying about him. Like, this would be the perfect spot for him to pull off a top 10.
Yeah,
now, I'm not saying he's going to win. I'm not saying he's going to win the golf tournament. But at $8,800, he's part of my fantasy team. But I'm taking JT over Morikawa in a matchup because Morikawa can't find it right now. I'm taking DJ over Thigala, English over Tom Kim, Finau over Clark. Those are my matchups. I like Finau in a top 20, DJ in a top 20, Cam Young in a top 20, and I'm going the continental European John Rahm at plus 170. I think to me, that's just like giving money away. And 2 or more holes in one at plus 225.
Wow.
See, I'm not going to pull you off the ledge with DJ because I just looked it up to see like his best finishes. He's making his 14th Masters appearance, has top 12 finishes, and 6 of his past 8 starts at Augusta. So might be on to something there. I don't know if I like the Rahm choice, but
the guy
I'll let you go with DJ.
Neiman's the guy I'm really curious. I mean, he went all out trying to get into this tournament, right?
Wacko.
And he's playing really, really well. I mean, he's up there too. I mean, he's sitting at 2,800 right now. Harry, I like Russell Henley too. He's got 2 top 5s coming in, 5,500. A couple matchups. I'm actually taking Henley minus 110 over Terrell Hatton. I don't think Hatton's built for this course at that number. I like it. And I like Brooks minus 120 over Victor Hovland. Hovland changed coaches again. I mean, I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Xander.
Matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to do Xander in the top 5. I think Xander finishes. All the trends are saying he's going to win, but I could see him finishing 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th at 300. Same thing with Finau. I think he's a top 5 player at 3,500. And I like Siwoo, even as a possible sleeper win at 5,500.
He's on my fantasy team.
Yeah, I like the way
shaking that.
Shaking that ass.
Danielle, did you get your team in? Are you in for the Masters?
I will do it as soon as we end this.
You say this all the time.
I hate to do it to her, Harry.
I hate to do it.
Guys, currently, I'm not kidding. Let's just take a look. 283 unread text messages.
Oh, jeez.
I got to figure it out.
No wonder she doesn't get back to me.
That makes me feel better. We at least get text back, Harry. Yeah.
I do text you guys back.
You do.
But wait, before we end, before I know I'm going to stretch it out a little bit longer, but I cannot let this end without really quickly just talking about our guy, Denny McCarthy. No, we talked about that.
Yeah.
And Harry, it might be bitter for you because you took Eric Cole over Denny when I told you not to.
Did.
But shot 28 on the second 9.
I know.
Birdied 8 out of
we didn't even recap last week because it's been so busy
9 last
Masters.
I know. Well, this is all we talk about as Masters this week. I feel like that's
know.
all we're allowed to, but I would be remiss if I did not talk about Denny's performance on that back 9. I mean,
and one bad chip, one bad pitch shot. It's unbelievable how one shot. We talk about a lot of times how one signature shot can get you to the win. Well, one bad shot can get you to a loss. It's God, it was heartbreaking.
But I'm sorry. I try to be objective. I know sometimes I say some things that I shouldn't say, but Akshay, I mean, softer than Charmin. What are you doing?
Oh my God.
After we see him chunk that in the water, you're going to stop and go and not want anyone to see you with your shirt off and have to get taped. You see him just hit it in the water, hit the shot, when, like,
Yeah,
I think
what's a
was it
little
in our
tape
group
what's a little
text,
tape
like,
gonna do?
yeah, and you threw your arm out by making it, by rallying, by celebrating with a little fist pump. Like, was it our text that you guys said not doing much for the golfers or athletes by injuring yourself with a fist pump? Like,
Brutal.
oh, it
Absolutely
was
brutal.
tough. It
Yeah.
was tough. But
Very,
yeah,
very tough.
we just
Yeah.
needed to quick highlight, give
Yeah.
props to Denny, and just acknowledge him again as one of the greatest putters. Like, and when we were in, it wasn't this past year, but the year before, AT&T Pro-Am, he started getting, blackout with that putter again, and silly was like birdie, birdie, birdie. And I saw that back nine. I was like, what is he doing to birdie 8 out of the 9 last holes? I mean, devastating to see that last shot in the playoff, but still had the fewest putts of any 72-hole tournament in 19 years. Like,
because actually, I
that's
didn't
just
play bad.
wild.
It's not like he gave up the lead. He just
He shot what, he had 3 under or something like that,
Yeah, I mean,
and
you
he
can't plan for that.
no, and he even said, like, I liked his commentary after, because he said, like, look, like, golf, it's a wild game. You never know. And he said, going in, what did he have? A 5 or 6 shot lead?
5-shot lead, I think.
5-shot lead,
Yeah.
going in, wire to wire leading.
Yeah.
His first PGA, like, official stroke play PGA Tour win, but seeing a 6-shot lead and then seeing it come down to having to force a playoff with one of the greatest, current PGA Tour players. He said, that's, you feel that, that tiger burning down your neck there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, listen, thank you to Geoff Ulrich. Thank you to Jason Baile. Also, don't forget our partners, DraftKings Sportsbook, sponsors of the show. We're in the heart of it. Make sure you get in the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official betting partner of the PGA Tour. This week, new customers can turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets on any golf bet. We talked about, is it Scotty versus the field, sitting at 450, and then Rory right behind him at plus 1,100. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code DING. New customers can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code DING. The crown is yours. Great stuff, guys. Thank you to our guests. Harry, you'll be watching every shot. I know it.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I got I'm doing Inside Golf on Thursday with Harry Donahue and the crew over at Lulu. So maybe we'll watch some holes over there, weather permitting.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. All right. Check it out. Check out the Masters. Check out All Access in our link. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for our tournament. Sign up for the DraftKings Fantasy Account. Do it all. Do all the things.
I'm doing it. I'm doing my fantasy right now.
All right. Let's see. Xander's getting it done. We'll be back next week.